And when you say you have 3 kids, we got to say happy birthday to your son.
Levi
9 years old.
just turned 9 the other day. Young Leviticus, there he is over in Mauritius where we're working right now.
But I love the names.
Well, Levi's got a great source material. Levi's another name for Matthew in the Bible. All right, and so we had talked about possibly Matthew Jr. if we had a boy. And my favorite book of the Bible is Matthew 6:22. If thy eye be single, thy whole body will be full of light. So Levi was one of the names of 6 different names. I didn't want it to be Matthew because I thought it'd be Matthew Jr. Levi was one of the 6 possible boy names. He's born. We find out he's a boy when he's born. You're not thinking about the name, right?
Yeah.
An hour later, the doctor comes up and they hand you that card that you fill out. Blank was born at 6:22 p.m. So we went, it's Levi.
Wow.
So that's
all right, let's do it. Matthew McConaughey is a man who needs no introduction, a larger-than-life actor who's been in the Hollywood spotlight for decades, including acting in one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, Interstellar. But get this, behind the legendary actor there is one thing you might not have known. Matthew McConaughey has a bold and unashamed faith in God and the Bible. In this video, we dive deep into both big and small interviews he's done, exploring all the times where he's stood up for his faith in the midst of a very anti-Christian Hollywood culture. We are Make Faith Famous, and we hope this video inspires you, motivates you, and encourages you. Let's get back to that Joe Rogan.
First off, I want to thank God because that's who I look up to. He's graced my life with opportunities that I know are not of my hand or any other human hand. He has shown me that it's a scientific fact that gratitude reciprocates.
So if you're anything like me, you could immediately sort of see and hear the awkward silence in the room when Matthew started talking about God as he accepted the award. Jennifer Lawrence, who's on stage in the clip, doesn't even attempt to clap. It's just sort of sad to see, and it makes me appreciate even more when people do this at award shows. All right, in this next clip, Matthew actually talks to Jordan Peterson, who I know many of you love and many of you hate, and we may cover him another day, another video. But anyways, Jordan Peterson asks Matthew a fantastic question directly about his faith. And just for context, they're talking about a character Matthew plays in a super popular show that I haven't seen yet called True Detective, where I guess he plays a super dark and maybe nihilistic character named Cole, as far as I can tell. But it does tie into Matthew's own faith journey, so let's give it a listen.
Cole. Okay, so you talked about playing Cole in True Detective and that you were protected from his dark excesses, let's say, by your faith. Why did that provide you with, in what way did that provide you with protection? It's a striking thing to say, but you said your faith protected you from Cole.
Well, it was one of the things that allowed me to fully go into Cole and fully believe Cole and get down and live it and look at the world through that lens.
Right.
I had already had a few year run of my life where I was quite agnostic. My agnosticism was not about trying to prove the disbelief of God's existence. My agnosticism was about me going, you sure have been letting yourself off the hook, McConaughey, Mr. Fatalist. Oh, I'll forgive you again because you're being a repeat offender and I'm kind of tired of it. Put your damn hands on the wheel, man. Talking to myself. You're driving here and quit going to this, I can pray and be forgiven, but you're repeat offending. Cut it out.
So at first it's like, I'm not sure where you're going with this, man. But I really appreciate how he points to that agnostic period of his life as a response to him using his relationship with God as essentially a crutch. He calls himself a repeat offender. It reminds me of Romans 6:1, where Paul asks something along the lines of, shall we go on sinning? Matthew, in that period of his life, knew that he was sinning. He knew that he was praying, but wasn't actually changing his actions. And hopefully out of that agnosticism, that's when his faith journey could really begin. Let's hear what Peterson responds with.
There's an ideal calling to you then, eh? Like when you experience yourself as ashamed by your own behaviors, what that means is that there's an ideal inside you that's trying to manifest itself, right? Because you wouldn't be ashamed if you weren't comparing yourself to something better. And the question then becomes, well, what is that better thing that you're comparing yourself to? And it's an ideal. And then the question becomes, well, what is the ideal? You know, and that's the sort of fleshing out what that ideal is that's the function of religious thinking. And so that's why I was interested in your comment about agnosticism. You know, in Revelation, in the book of Revelation, Christ comes back as a judge. Even though he's a figure of mercy, let's say, he comes back as a judge.
We can start to piece together some of Matthew's life and faith journey as he struggled with agnosticism and his own sinful nature before ultimately drawing closer to Christ. Now, let's dive a bit deeper, more scriptural, more biblical, which I know y'all are going to love. Did you know that Matthew has actually done some reading of the Word at a local hometown church in Texas? It's really rather incredible. And I just want to emphasize how rare it is to see this. And real quick before we hear what Matthew's reading, I just want to say thanks so much for being here, for watching this, for supporting Make Faith Famous. The response has been unbelievable. To gain this many subscribers in such a short amount of time, it almost brought me to tears to see all the different parts of the world y'all are tuning in from. But all right, enough mushy mush from me. Let's get into the Word with Matthew, or rather, Matthew reading Corinthians.
Our body has many parts. It has limbs, organs, cells. But no matter how many parts we can name, we are still one body. It's exactly the same with Christ. By means of his one Spirit, we all said goodbye to our partial and piecemeal lives. We each used to independently call our own shots, but then we entered into a large and integrated life in which he has the final say in everything. This is what we proclaimed in word and action when we were baptized. Each of us is now a part of his resurrection body, refreshed and sustained at one fountain, his Spirit, where we all come to drink. The old labels that we once used to identify ourselves, labels like Jew or Greek, slave or free, are no longer useful. We need something larger, more comprehensive. Let's take a moment to think about how this makes all of us more significant and not less. A body isn't just a single part blown up into something huge. It's all the different but similar parts arranged and functioning together. Think about it. If foot said, "I am not elegant like hand, embellished with rings, I guess I don't belong to this body," would that make it so? Of course not. And if ear said, "I am not beautiful like you, eye, limpid and expressive, I don't deserve a place on the head," would you want to remove it from the body? I mean, if the body was all eye, how could it hear? If the body was all ear, how could it smell? As it is, we see that God has carefully placed each part of the body right where he wanted it. Now let's also think about how this keeps our significance from getting blown up into self-importance. For no matter how significant we are, it is only because of what we are a part of. Think about it. An enormous eye or a gigantic hand would not be a body, it would be a monster. What we have is one body with many parts, each its proper size and in its proper place. No part is important on its own. Can you imagine the eye telling the hand, "Get lost, I don't need you, hand," or the head telling the foot, "You're fired, your job has been phased out"? As a matter of fact, in practice, it seems to work the other way. The lower the part, the more basic the part of the body, the therefore more necessary. And think about it, we can live without an eye, for instance, but we cannot live without a stomach. When it's a part of our own body we are concerned with, it makes no difference whether the part is visible or clothed, higher or lower. We give it dignity and honor just as it is, without comparisons. And if anything, we seem to have more concern for the lower parts of our body than the higher. I mean, think about it. If we had to choose, wouldn't we prefer good digestion to a full head of hair? Yeah, that's debatable. I mean, whoo, hang on, I can handle a little indigestion, but come on. Been working on this hairline for a while. God, give me a break on that one. The way God designed our bodies is a model for understanding our lives together in society as well as in the church. Every part dependent on every other part. The parts we mention and the parts we do not mention. The parts we see and the parts we don't see. If one part hurts, every other part is involved in the hurt and in the healing. If one part flourishes, every other part enters into that exuberance. We are Christ's body. That's who we are. We must never forget this. Only as we accept our part of that body does our part mean anything.
So, like, I know that was the Message version, and some people are not going to like that, but come on. You just saw Matthew McConaughey, Hollywood household name megastar, reading the Bible genuinely, without politics, without pandering, not on social media, not in front of a million people. Just a humble and honest reading of the Word. I loved his little indigestion and hairline joke too. So you like that? Let's see what else we've got. Digging deep here.
I'm a big believer in self-reliance, and that we do have our hands on the wheel, and that God does want us to take that responsibility. If not, well, then go out and run every damn red light. And I'm sorry, the God I believe in is not happy with that, going, woohoo, fatalist, whatever happens, happens. Inshallah, yeah, good Lord willing, it'll happen. Well, no, BS. It takes work and it takes discernment. It's why he gave us free will and why we have free will, choices to make. And it's not supposed to be easy.
So while I definitely don't personally care for the term self-reliance, because of course we want to be dependent on Christ, I think I get what Matthew is saying here. It reminds me of the Bible verse in James that says, faith without works is dead. The general idea simply being that we do have a responsibility to act like Christ did, and we can't just have this sort of fatalistic view of the world because, oh, there's a God in the sky and I'm saved and blah, blah, blah. Life is hard, and we have agency, like the free will Matthew mentions, and responsibility to behave godly despite that hardness. Did you ever think that Matthew was such a deep and interesting thinker when it comes to faith? Me neither. Next up, he dips his toes a little bit into describing his prayer life. Let's watch together.
I'm happiest and most connected spiritually when all day, when I'm praying with my eyes open, when this is a prayer, when every exchange is a prayer. But truthfully, what do I also need? Come Friday, I kind of need Sunday morning. I need that church. I need to go to that place to do inventory on the loved ones in my life, to do inventory on my week, to roll through my mental Rolodex and see the people I love in their truest form and just be like, I wish that for them. And then end on me, end on an image of myself, not Instagram happy, not just where I am. And if I can grasp that image, that's my final. So let's take that to the week. But I need that Sunday. I need that ritual where I'm forced into going at the most, I'm number 2. You know what I mean? I need that humility. And humility was a word that I struggled with for decades. And I've gotten a better relationship with that through my spiritual life, and it's in the last probably 10 years.
Super, super interesting stuff. Hey, if you're still here with us, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. It means more than you can know. I feel convicted to actually pray for Matthew here, which is crazy. It's not something I ever thought I'd be doing all those years ago when I first watched Interstellar, which is, again, one of my favorite movies of all time. But hey, here we are, and I'm just going to launch into it. So, Father, thank you for allowing us to be here today. Thank you for your grace and your mercy, for your love, and for your Son, Jesus Christ. I pray for Matthew McConaughey that he experiences your fullness, that he's transformed and refined by your Spirit, and that all this stuff we see here today is just the beginning, just the tip of the iceberg of him using his resources and platform and voice to amplify yours, Father, and build your kingdom. Bless Matthew, bless the audience watching right now, bless this channel, and we thank you every single day for the chance you've given us to help make faith famous. Amen. See y'all next time.